Good morning to all the students. Hope you all have seen part 1 and 2 of chapter 4, How the Traders Became Rulers. Now in part 3 we will discuss about Dalhouse's policy of annexation. The aim of Wellesley's policy of expansion was to enslave the native kingdom without using much of British resources. See, what was the aim of Wellesley policy? He wanted to policy was to expansion was to enslave. He wanted to enslave the native kingdom without using much resource. Of British resource was not used much, and the states that accepted the subsidiary alliance considered the British as their friends, and the states which were accepting this system, this alliance system, were considered British as their friends. Eventually, in the absence of internal and external threat, they became irresponsible and their administration started deteriorating. See, now what happened eventually? There was the internal, in the absence of internal or external threat, was being given by the Britishers, and this were irresponsible. That their administration they started deteriorating, means that started becoming worse, and the outcome of this conspiracy of the British was the anarchy in many princely states. And what was the outcome of this? That conspiracy, I mean, the secret was planned by a group to do something which is harmful or unlawful. And this conspiracy of the British was the anarchy. Anarchy means a state of disorder due to the absence or non recognition of any authority. That anarchy in many princely states it was carried. The Indian rulers got trapped in it, and in this way the Indian rulers who were there, who were having the princely state, they got trapped in it, and the British got an excuse. They got an excuse of interfering where in the internal affairs of the states, and they on the pretext of putting an end to an anarchy. Pretext means a reason given in justification of course of action, that is not the real reason. So in that they started putting an end to this anarchy. They annexed many states under same excuse, and they started annexing many states and were giving the same excuses. And thereafter was Burma, now it's known as Myanmar, and the region of Punjab they also annexed. And if the king died without a son, his state was annexed. In this way, Satara, Jhansi, Nagpur, etc. became the victim of policy of annexation. See, Lord Dalhousie he brought in the policy of annexation, and what was the meant for bringing to an end to the rule of the native kings and bringing his state under the British rule directly. Absolute mismanagement of states due to the irresponsible kings enabled Dalhousie to annex many states, and if the king died without a son, his state was annexed, and while the other were annexed by defeating them in the battle. Thus Dalhousie made British rule free from rivals with the help of victory and annexation. Dalhousie aimed at helping the British traders to make huge profits from the trade of tea, coffee, and cotton by capturing the areas that produce these commodities on large scale. See what Dalhousie did. He started helping the Britishers to expand their trade and to make the profit out of the trade, of which trade of coffee and cotton, and the area which was produced more, and this commodity they were doing on a large scale, and in this way the Britishers were having a huge profits. To consolidate the British rule in India and to run the administration smoothly, many changes were introduced by Dalhousie in India. And see, in this, the Dalhousie made many changes to run the administration smoothly. What he did during his tenure, the first railway line was started between Mumbai and Thane. That was in the year 1853. CE. The modern postal system started in India, and wireless system between India and England too was introduced during his tenure. See what he has started. He started first railway line that was between Mumbai and Thane, and another the modern postal system was started in India also, and the wireless system that was from India and England too was also introduced. He passed a law to ban child marriage and advocate remarriage. See, he banned child remarriage. Before, in the early years, there was they used to child marriage, and he banned that the child marriage, advocate widow remarriage, and widow remarriage was also been advocated by him. He gave the English education spread in India during this time, and during this time English education spread in India with the help of three universities in India were established, where in Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata in the year 1857. See what he did. He started first railway line from Mumbai to Thane. He gave the English education spread in India with the help of three universities, that is Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. And he banned child marriage and advocated widow remarriage. And then further, thus this reforms were basically for the expansion of the British rule and ease in the administration. With all these things, there was the expansion was growing of British rule in India, and its administration was easy going. Although Indians benefited later on, and with this whole thing it was benefited to India, but under later on they had to suffer a lot. They had to suffer later on a lot with the introduction of British reforms. Dissatisfaction of the people. See what happened with this. There was a dissatisfaction of the people. How? After the policy of subsidiary alliance, Dalhousie's policy of annexation shook the whole nation terribly. See, first was the subsidiary alliance system, and that after that came the Dalhousie's policy, that was the annexation policy, and that shook the whole world. This resulted in the dissatisfaction among the people towards the British, and slowly and gradually the dissatisfaction for Britishers arose in the people. You must have seen the film Kranti and Mangal Pandey. See, you all have seen these two films, Kranti and Mangal Pandey. It's a historical based film. If you have not seen, then try and see this movie. At this time, the people were suppressed under the dictatorial regime of the British. During that time, it was a British rule, and the movie is based on that. If you have not seen, just see it. In addition to that, the reforms made by Dalhousie added fuel to fire, and when the Wellesley's policy was going, and after that the Dalhousie's policy came, and that was like a fuel to fire. When there is a fire and we add a fuel in it, so it expands more, there is more heat. Different people reacted differently to railways, facilities of post and telegrams, and western education. Everything was differently reacted by different people. Orthodox people felt that the British wanted to destroy their culture. See what the Orthodox people felt. They felt that this Britishers want to destroy their culture, heritage. What was it? They felt that they are destroying their culture. The reforms done by the British were basically for running the administration smoothly, and this all the reforms which was given to India, which was introduced in the annexation policy by Dalhousie, and they felt that the British was wanted to run their administration smoothly because of all these things. The dissatisfaction of people has reached a point of starvation, and they were in the state of rebellion, which resulted in the freedom movement in 1857. See, by introduction of railways and telegraph got different reactions. So some people felt that the British were out of destroy, they were destroying their culture. Others felt that they were trying to enslave them. Thus they were terrific dissatisfaction in the whole country it was. And the subsidiary alliance and the annexation policy created dissatisfaction among the people, and this reached starvation point also, and the people rebelled for it, and this resulted in the freedom movement of 1857. Thank you. Hope you all have understood this chapter.